and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Galloway, can you call the roll?
Yes, Aaron Mullen. Aaron Mullen.
Is that on?
Here we go.
Yes.
John Palmer.
Here.
Jeff Brodsky.
Here.
Jeff Dance.
Here.
And I'm here as well. Thank you.
All right. Item number 1 is public comment. I don't see anyone here, so I assume there's no public comment needed.
Check online.
Is there anyone online?
Yes, we have public comment online. We're bringing
Okay.
them in. Go ahead, Ellen.
Hello?
Yes. Can you state your name?
Oh, yes, Elton, E-L-T-O-N, Ebersole, E-B-E-R-S-O-L-E.
Okay. You can go ahead. You're on.
Oh, okay, so I'm a resident on Edgemont Road in Fairless Hills, and I'm calling in pertaining to the SIV ambulance repair shop and sales facility that's being proposed for being built at the corner of North Olds Boulevard and US Route 1. And all the neighbors here are very concerned about the close proximity to the homes on Edgemont Road. We're also concerned about the size, height of the building, excessive lighting, and also the noise, okay? Air compressors, hydraulic pumps and motors, sirens for when they need to be tested for inspections. Also, we're very concerned about vandalism and crime, okay? The corner gas station has been robbed several times just in the past 6 weeks, okay? And also there's a big problem with drainage, okay, and at that corner. I don't know if you folks know this or not, but there's always, after a heavy rain, there's a pond there, approximately 30 yards square, and it's often used as a skating rink in the wintertime. It has frozen over, and my son has played ice hockey. Not that I'm proposing an ice hockey rink, but we're concerned about the drainage, okay, what's gonna happen there, okay? And we're also very concerned about the depreciation of our homes, okay? And, we understand now that it's our position that this is just still in the proposed stage, but yet we see surveyor stakes back there. So we need to know what's going on. I'm hoping that this isn't a done deal. That as far as we know, that's only been there's been a variance approved for setbacks. Okay. And where can we get the answers for all these questions? Okay.
I have them all for you. So they did get zoning variance for their setbacks, but they've proposed nothing to the township yet. We haven't seen any plans. We haven't, the Board of Supervisors, of anything. So right now, this is just an idea that they have that, they haven't presented to us at all yet. So nothing's been approved as of this time. So the timeline for that will probably be sometime early next year if they do keep moving forward. I did see your email that Ms. Mole forwarded to me that you sent. That was you, correct?
Yes.
Yep, and I did forward that to the attorney that was representing them to let them know that there's major concerns here. So,
Okay.
As we move forward, we have your contact information. You'll see it advertised before anything is decided. But as of now, we know nothing. We've seen nothing except an
Okay.
idea that they currently have a business in Middletown where they operate, and
Yeah.
they talked about possibly building there. So that's all we have at this time.
Okay, so any further communication, where could we find that?
It'll be advertised before another meeting. They have to come before us at some
Okay.
point.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
All right?
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
Any other public comment needed?
Yes, we have one more.
Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Tony Batiste. Regarding number 10, is this to repeal the ordinance that the board adopted last month after a lot of debate and executive session?
Yes.
And, okay, if so, is it being put back to what it was? And then what is the amendment?
No, there is no amendment. It's going to be back as it was. It's going to be the same.
No,
ordinance.
there is a brief amendment, Mr. Dents. The original ordinance set a deadline
I'm sorry.
for December 30th, and because we were or November 30th, excuse me. And since we're getting started a little later, we have amended the ordinance to set the deadline to submit applications to December 30th. That's the only amendment.
Okay, but you're putting it back to the ordinance that was 2007?
Yes.
Okay. And also, I know what's proposed for the site at Olds Boulevard and Lincoln Highway, but what is going into the old Fairless Hill Medical Building that's on South Olds next to the county property?
I'm not sure.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment needed?
No further comment.
All right. We're going to go a little bit out of order and move item number 10 up to number 2, which is the authorization to advertise repealing ordinance 2021-13 and reinstating ordinance 2007-3, the records. At our last meeting, we adopted an ordinance to do away with the duty tow list and go with one tower. As was pointed out, we did find a lot of flaws with that ordinance as far as we're concerned, that we're just going to go back to the old one for next year. So as Mr. Clark pointed out, it is amended. The deadlines are all going to be pushed up a month. So, we're still going to have the same list we have now for the first month of January. And then the new list will kick in February. Does that sound right, Mr. Clark?
Correct. That's correct, Mr. Dents.
All right. Any questions or comments from board members?
So February 1st will be the new list, reinstate the new list?
Correct.
Okay.
The deadline to submit applications will be December 30th. Then throughout the month of January, Officer Ward or Lieutenant Ward, as he has done in the past, will check all the information, and then the new list will be sent to County Dispatch on February 1st.
Or whoever Chief Whitney decides is going to do that.
Right. It has been Lieutenant Ward in the past.
Right.
And
Chief
do we,
Clark.
have we discussed, probably more of a question for you, but have we discussed mailing out applications? And when is that going to happen to the current duty tow list?
I think it was discussed last week, and then Mr. Takita and I discussed it again earlier today. I think the advertisement, even though you're not going to be, this is just a motion to advertise. They're going to be mailed out to the duty tow, the current duty towers in the next couple of days, and then the advertisement is going to be placed in the paper in the next couple of days.
Is that correct, by the end of the week?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is that it? Mr. Galloway, any questions?
No questions.
Mr.
Thank you.
Palmer?
No questions.
Ms. Mullen?
No questions.
No, I have none. Is there any public comment needed? No public comment. All right, is there a motion to repeal ordinance 2021-13 and reinstate 2007-3?
I'll
as
make that
presented?
motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we'll get back on track. Item number 2. NP Falls Township Industrial LLC minor subdivision. Mr. Jones, do you want to take us through this? Or who do we have?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. North Point is proposing a minor subdivision. It's being referred to as the Port Strip. It's for 63.5 acres of land to be subdivided from the main parcel, and I believe the applicant is represented tonight by Mr. Mike McGinnis, Esquire.
That's right. Thank you. Good evening, Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of North Point. As Mr. Jones stated, this is a minor subdivision application to create a approximately 63 acre parcel. We have two waivers that are waivers that have been in front of the supervisors previously associated with various North Point subdivision projects. What I would ask, I think, at the outset here, a little different than how we've handled prior applications, is just to have Jeremy Michael, who's here with me, maybe take 90 seconds and just give the board a summary as to why this is important from North Point's perspective, and then I'll just put into the meeting the two waivers that we're requesting, if that's acceptable. And then I think, Jeremy, you're on, correct?
Yeah. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Got it. So just quickly, you got in the Keystone Trade Center development at previous meetings. What we're trying to accomplish here, we actually purchased the Gamesa property, which is 90 acres kind of in the center of our development. As part of that transaction, we're selling a strip of that on the west border of our property along Port Road. And so the current application is for the subdivision to be able to subdivide and sell that portion of the property to close out the transaction where we purchased the Gamesa property.
And this is moving us from what has been in front of the board previously. We've always labeled as phase one. This is to transition us to the phase two of our development. We have an application in for the next three buildings, which we're very excited about, which I think will be at the Planning Commission next week for consideration. But this is an important component of moving things along on North Point's end from phase one into phase two.
All right.
And
Pretty straightforward. Mr. Jones, you want to comment on the waivers, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. The waivers that are being requested are to not require sidewalks along the frontage of streets, but to do that in accordance with the previously executed developers agreement, where we do it in a more thoughtful way. After the developments occur or while the developments are occurring, we select the side of the street that makes most sense. And on that same vein, the street tree plantings are, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was going through the letter. Let me stop. Two waivers. The applicant requests a waiver from the section requiring all natural resources being identified, and that's a waiver that we've granted on previous applications. Essentially, they take a look at the natural resources just for the property that they're focused on and not the entire KTC tract. And then a partial waiver from 19179C3, which is a requirement that they show land development along with the subdivision. And it's my understanding that there may not be a land development on this subject tract, so we have no objection to that.
All right. Mr. Clark, do you have anything to add?
I do not. This is pretty simple and straightforward.
Right. Any comments or questions from board members? Mr. Boraski?
No, thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, one question about the sidewalks. Why is there a waiver for the sidewalks? Is that at the end? You guys were talking about putting them in, or?
Mr. Palmer, I apologize. I misspoke. That was a comment in our letter, but that's not on the waiver list. And so the way the sidewalks have been proposed, when the project comes in with the land development, then we work with the applicant's engineer to make sure that the sidewalk gets placed on the most logical side of the street.
When we entered into the master site development agreement, it was agreed upon between North Point and the township that there's going to be a variety of subdivisions, perhaps in different order as this moves forward over the next few years, and that rather than guesstimating which side of the street sidewalk should be installed on, we were going to take a look at that, as Mr. Jones has stated, as each parcel was subsequently developed. So if we subdivide a parcel and then when we come through with the land development, the township presumably would provide an opinion as to which side the sidewalk should be installed on, and then we would consent to that and work with the township in that regard. So typically when we were in front of the board, for example, last time, and we were subdividing, I think 8 of the lease lots, there wasn't development associated with that. But when we go to build building 1, building 2, building 3, et cetera, as each case may be, we have a conversation about where the sidewalks should be installed. So I think to Mr. Jones' point, when there's development that's proposed, we install the sidewalks. If we're just doing the subdivision, we ask that to be deferred until any development is proposed by the applicant.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
And I have none. Resolution number, Mr. Takita?
Resolution number 2021-36.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Yep, good night. Item number 3, consider adopting resolution establishing revised 2022 minimum municipal obligation for the police pension plan. Who wants to handle this one? Mr. Oh, Mrs. Rukoff.
Yes, this is a revision to the MMO that was presented to the board at their September meeting. Our actuary prepares pension plan valuations biannually. The previous MMO that was presented in September was based on the 2019 valuation. The 2021 valuation was not yet completed, and that MMO had to be presented and certified to the board by the end of September. So they prepared the MMO based on the old valuation. Since that time, they have completed the 2021 valuation with updated mortality tables to a new required public mortality table, and they've lowered the assumed interest rate to be more consistent with the plan's anticipated investment returns. What this has done, it has increased the 2022 police pension plan MMO by $378,346 over the previously presented one. So we need to adopt a new resolution showing the new minimum municipal obligation of $3,526,280.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Mr. Boraski?
No.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Clark, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
All right, this will be Resolution 2021-37. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number
Thank you.
4, the proposed budget presentation.
That
It's all
would
you.
be me again.
This is much easier than the old way, though, huh?
Yes, it is. The screens are nice. There we go. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to present the proposed budget for 2022 for your review. The proposed tax rate for 2022 is 7.22 mils, the same rate as 2021. There's no tax increase proposed for Falls Township's residents. 7 tax funds make up the total millage rate charged to township residents. The general fund is the chief operating fund of the township. The street lighting fund is used to account for the cost of electricity and maintenance of the highway and street lights located in the township. The fire protection fund helps to support our local fire companies. The fire hydrant fund is, sorry, I've lost my mouse. It's gone. Yeah. The fire hydrant fund, sorry, is restricted to the expenditures for the maintenance and repair of fire hydrants located within the township. The Parks and Recreation Fund is restricted to the development of recreational programs and our township parks. The Fallsington Library Fund helps to support our local library, and the Rescue Squad Fund helps to support our local rescue squads. That brings us to our total millage rate of 7.22 mils. The millage distribution will remain unchanged for 2022. For every tax dollar paid in 2021, only 3.5 cents was received by Falls Township. The balance was collected by the County of Bucks and the Pennsbury School District. Residents' tax dollars are used to provide a full range of municipal services, including police and fire protection, construction and maintenance of streets and storm sewers, recycling, residential solid waste pickup, zoning regulations, building inspections, parks and recreational activities, and the maintenance and replacement of streetlights. Contributions to fire companies, rescue squads, and the library that serve Falls Township's residents are also funded through those real estate tax dollars. What do all of these services cost our taxpayers? Based on an assessment of $30,000, a Falls Township resident can expect to pay $216.60. This is by far the lowest cost of our neighboring municipalities. Please note, our neighboring municipalities' figures include assessments for trash and leaf pickups, which are free to Falls Township's residents due to our partnership with Waste Management. Some highlights of the 2022 proposed budget. Our 2022 projected revenues, which include reliance by the general fund on the host community fees of $14.8 million, reliance by the general fund on resource recovery fees of $950,000, and additional projected revenues including local services tax at $590,000, cable TV franchise fees at $650,000, real estate transfer taxes at $850,000, building, electrical, and fire permits at $835,000, and the state pension system assistance at $650,000. Regarding our 2022 pension obligation, while the state pension assistance the township receives has remained relatively static, the township's minimum municipal obligation to the pension plans has risen dramatically. As shown by the red line on the chart, the township's pension obligation doubled from $1.3 million in 2012 to $2.6 million in 2017. For 2018 through 2020, our pension obligation was over $2.8 million each year. In 2021, it rose to $3.1 million. And for 2022, the township has budgeted $3,526,280. As you can see, the assistance we receive from the state does little to offset our rising pension costs. The net cost to the township is projected to be $2,876,280 for 2022. Budgeted expenditures from the general fund total $24,027,769. 55% of that amount, or $13 million, is used to provide police services to our community. Some 2022 proposed capital projects are the 2022 road program. The Township Road Program will continue in 2022. We have allocated $2 million for the continuation of this program. Township intersection improvements, $61,073 has been budgeted for improvements to the intersection of North Olds Boulevard and Trenton Road. The total project cost is anticipated to be $305,363. PennDOT will provide 80% of the funding through their Green Light Go grant. Adaptive traffic signals, $160,000 has been budgeted for the balance of the township match on the adaptive traffic signal upgrades to be installed on Lincoln Highway, Tyburn Road, Oxford Valley Road, and West Trenton Avenue. The total project cost is anticipated to be $1,355,900, with federal funding picking up 80% of the cost. The construction portion of this project is expected in 2022. Tree trimming and removal. There are currently many dead or dying trees throughout the township, creating a hazardous situation for residents and visitors. Many of our trees have been infested by the emerald ash borer and the spotted lantern fly. Others have been weakened from storm damage, age, and disease. We have budgeted $50,000 to continue the tree trimming and removal that was begun in 2018. Police purchases. The purchase of 5 police vehicles, computer equipment, firearms training and supplies, and various other equipment for the police department have been budgeted at a cost of $470,000. Public Works purchases. The Public Works Department needs to replace 4 aging 6-wheel dump trucks in their fleet. $720,000 has been budgeted for these purchases. And a playground replacement. $150,000 has been budgeted for the purchase and installation of a playground for children ages 2 to 12 to replace the existing 20-year-old playground in Elderberry Park. This all-inclusive play space allows for wheelchair access and includes amenities tailored to children on the autism spectrum. Based on the proposed budget, a total of $38,528,739 is projected to be spent in the year 2022. The budget schedule for 2022 includes tonight's discussion of the proposed budget, advertisement of the 2022 proposed budget on November 21st, additional budget discussions from now through December 20th, public inspection of the proposed budget from November 30th to December 20th, and adoption of the final 2022 budget at the December 20th Board of Supervisors meeting. That concludes our presentation of the 2022 proposed budget. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, Mr. Boraski, any questions tonight? Ms. Mullen?
None tonight.
Mr.
Thank you.
Palmer?
No question.
Mr. Galloway?
A fine presentation, thank you, no questions.
Very
Thank
fine.
you.
Is there any public comment needed? Normally, Mr. Mariani be here, I'm getting to see.
I miss him.
Yeah.
None? Okay. Is there a motion then to advertise?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, excellent presentation, Mrs. Rico.
Thank you.
Item number 6, consider appointment by resolution to appoint auditor for the 2021 financial audit. Is he
That would be
in?
me again.
Busy night.
Recently, the township solicited proposals from 6 CPA firms for the audit of Falls Township's 2021 financial records. Upon review of the proposals, performance of reference checks, and conversations with our neighboring municipalities, it's recommended that the board appoint and confirm by resolution the appointment of Zelenkovsky Axelrod LLC for the audit of Falls Township's financial records for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, and include the option to reappoint them for the audit of the 22 and 23 fiscal years.
All right. So Major and Maestro is no longer doing this?
They're not, they are going to concentrate on taxes and consulting.
They've been doing it for a long time?
Yes, they have.
Okay, any questions from board members? Mr. Boraski?
Just, is it typical to do to option the additional 2 years?
That we've been doing that for the past several requests for proposals. It's nice to have some continuity, because once they get familiar with our methods and our computer system, it makes the audit go more easily because they're familiar with our records.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, we've been doing that, I think, the last 3 RFPs.
That makes sense, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I like the fact that we switch up every couple of years. People see things differently, so I'm in favor of this.
Mr. Galloway?
It's fine, no questions.
And is there any public comment needed? Oh, I'm sorry, is my mic not on? Uh-oh. Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment online.
All right. Is there a motion then? Resolution number 2021-38.
Motion.
I make that motion.
Seconded?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 6, consider resolution to enter into a traffic safety maintenance agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Who's handling this one?
Mr. Dents, we have a representative from Remington
Oh,
Vernon.
I apologize.
So my name is Derek Kennedy with Remington Vernon Associates.
Hi.
Just briefly, the change in the maintenance agreements requested by PennDOT, the change in how they do signal maintenance agreements statewide. Typically, the way things are set up now, every signal that the township has maintenance responsibilities for, and has an individual maintenance and operation agreement. So we're changing that to a more global agreement. The responsibility that we have as far as signal maintenance, but the process that we use now, what we do is every time there's a change in the signal, we use our permitting process, enter an individual agreement with every individual signal, so we're
Got ya.
beyond that.
Okay, so in the past, we had individual agreements for every traffic device, every
Right.
intersection?
Right.
I was unaware of that.
So, yeah, it's streamlining the process now, and
Okay.
it should be easier as we move forward.
All right. It sounds pretty straightforward. Any questions from board members? Mr. Boraski?
No, I just wanted to recap, because the mic wasn't on, so
Yeah.
I wasn't hearing you back. to where
Yep,
I was,
okay,
but-
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm Derek Kennedy with Remington and Veronic and Associates, and been coordinating with PennDOT on a change, a policy change they're making statewide, not just for Falls Township. It would be to change from having an individual signal and operation agreements for, for an individual basis for traffic signals to a global maintenance agreement that will cover the township-wide, responsibility for maintaining signals.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you. I'm good, Mr. Pence.
All right, Ms. Mullen, any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Clark. I saw there was something in the contract where the PennDOT wanted to be held harmless. Did you come to a resolution on that, or?
That's pretty standard in all PennDOT agreements. And trying to get hold harmless agreements taken out of PennDOT agreements is virtually impossible. They won't enter into agreements without hold harmless language.
So basically, it's the same as what we had
Yeah.
before? Okay.
Yeah. It's the same, Mr. Palmer, that you're going to see in any agreement that we enter in with PennDOT. Their legal department is not allowed to take hold harmless agreements out of agreements with municipalities.
Thank you. I'm done.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
All right, I have none. Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
All right, this is Resolution 2021-39. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right. Item number 7. Consider memorandum of understanding between Falls Township Police Department and the County of Bucks Human Services Division for the Human Services Co-Responder Initiative with authorization from Chief Nelson Whitney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the co-responder program we've been discussing. It was a county initiative. It's based on a program that Ben Salem started approximately 1 year ago. The co-responders will be shared between Falls Township and Middletown Township. One will be provided a workspace here and one at their headquarters. The only cost to us is giving them a car that they could use while they're working. These co-responders will be doing follow-ups and at times responding to calls for service when the situation has been deemed safe, for calls involving a mental health component or domestic violence component.
All right. Any questions from board members? Mr. Boraski, comments?
I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, Chief, you're okay with this, right?
I think it's a great idea. There's definitely a need for it in our community. And I think the idea of allowing them to work together and splitting the workload somewhat between us and Middletown is a good program. It's a good model.
Thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No, it sounds terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, this should be a good program, hopefully. Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
And this should take a lot of stress off your police force as well, right? A lot of the follow-up work that they usually do, these folks will be able to get
That
in
is
there.
one measure of success for the program. If it cuts down on calls for service from individuals who repeatedly use the 911 system because they just need help.
Yeah. All right, makes sense. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 8, consider resolution for the sale of township surplus vehicles. This is something we do, maybe not every year, but every once in a while. You know, our vehicles get old, and rather than just take them to the scrapyard, we put them on municipal bid and sell them. So we have a handful of, I guess, vehicles that are no longer in service. Any questions from board members? Mr. Palmer, or Mr. Boraski?
No, thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No.
I have none. Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
All right, so this is resolution 2021-40. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right.
Thanks, Jake. Good job.
Thank you, Jason. Tough crowd.
Item number 9, consider adopting ordinance amending chapter 169 pawnbrokers and dealers in precious metals and secondhand goods. Mr. Clark, this is you.
Yeah, I think Chief Whitney may be able to speak to what this amendment is. It's a simple amendment, kind of plugging a hole in our ordinance that was brought to our attention by Chief Whitney.
Yes, thank you. This allows us to use our existing ordinance to require businesses located in Falls Township who accept precious metals to have the same requirements for reporting information and identifying individuals as the pawn shops that were located in our township. The idea here is to help us with these ongoing catalytic converter thefts.
Right, that's basically what this is, you know, the catalytic converters have these precious metals, and it's a huge problem.
It is. We saw an uptick last month.
Last month, there was an uptick.
It's still happening all over the township.
Yeah. So this will require any business that accepts, you know, this already is in place for pawn shops and such, even though I don't think there's any left in Falls Township. You know, they accept goods, they have to notify the police and wait a certain amount of days before they can list it for sale, hopefully to cut down on, you know, thievery. And this is the same thing. I think I pointed out last meeting that I called Chief Whitney a couple months ago when I heard an advertisement on the radio of a business that was accepting catalytic converters. And there's no reason that any business would be advertising that other than for stolen catalytic converters. So, you know, it's probably horrible. I've never experienced it, but getting up in the morning, starting your car and finding out your catalytic converter was stolen would really ruin your day. So hopefully this can help. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No.
Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
Anything else to add, Mr. Clark?
No.
All right, this is ordinance 2021-15. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the help.
We already did item number 10.
Yep.
Item number 11, consider authorization to advertise ordinance I'm sorry. No, I'm right.
Yep.
Amending chapter 180, recycling to prohibit the burning of recyclable material. Whose is this one, Mr. Takita?
Mr. Downs,
This,
go ahead, Mr. Clark.
no, I'll handle this, Matt, if you want.
Sure.
So, as part of our recycling grant program, DEP is requiring that we adopt an ordinance prohibiting the burning of recyclable materials. They do not want unregulated entities or individuals burning plastic or other recyclable materials. The ordinance that we drafted had to be mindful of the fact that We have Wheelabrator located within our township. So the ordinance has been crafted in such a way that Wheelabrator, which is licensed and regulated by DEP, is not affected by this ordinance, but it will cover what DEP is asking us to adopt.
Okay. Any questions from board members or comments?
No, thanks.
No.
Mr. Palmer, Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
All right. And we're just advertising tonight. So is there a motion to advertise?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, item 12, we're going to advertise for cleaning services for the township building. This is pretty straightforward as well. Whose is this one? All right, I'll let you take this one, Mr. Lawson. You came all the way out here tonight. You jumped up pretty quick.
Thank you. This is for the advertising for the cleaning of the municipal building and the park bathrooms when they're open in the summer. We did a one-year contract to see how it went. This is our first year that we went without an in-house cleaning person, and we thought it went pretty well. We had some hiccups, but with emails back and forth, they got the cleaning crew to fix whatever we thought we had a problem with. The only thing that I would suggest on the bid is to do option years. That way we don't have to go every year with doing a cleaning bid. If we do a 1 year with option 1, option 2, if the service is good, like now, we can keep them. If the service is not good, then we just go out to bid again. But I think doing it every year, there's a lot of security protocols that we have to go through with the police department, getting fingerprinted and background checked over there with their system, ID cards here with our system through Rich. I just think that if we keep it in play, if they do good, we keep them, then we don't have to go through all that background checks and other reporting that we have to do.
Is that possible, Mr. Clark?
Yes, it is. You can always do the bid to have a 1 year, a 2 year, or a 3 year, and it is at the selection of the township. And they have to hold their prices for those 1, 2, or 3 years. It's something that happens frequently.
All right. Any questions or comments, Mr. Boraski?
No, and I'm with you, Jay. I like the option for a second year. We did it. We had just the 1 year landscaping contracts for a long time. Remember, we would bid them every year,
Yeah.
and
Then we
started
went in
optioning for a
options.
3-year contract, and it seems to be fine, you know? But
And it gives us the option, if they don't do well for us, we can back out that year and go to someone else.
Any questions or comments, Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Jay, what are you saying? You wanted a 3-year option, or is it just
Well,
a second
I
year?
mean, it's an option. 1 year contract with an option that we can keep them 2 or keep them 3 years.
Okay, so I'm in favor of that.
It just cuts down on getting a new company every year.
You're going to be bidding it in the alternate. You're asking for a price for 1 year, a price for the second year, and the price for the third year.
Yeah.
And then you can award it and base it on all 3 years, and then but you still have the option to opt out.
Thank you.
Mr. Galloway, anything
No
from you?
questions.
Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
All right, and I have nothing to add. Is there a motion then to advertise?
So moved.
second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Thanks, Jay.
Item 13, the minutes from October 18th. Any corrections or comments? Haven't seen Mrs. Pullen here in a while, but excellent minutes as always. Anyone? No?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Motion.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, it takes us to the engineer's report. Mr. Jones, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see from the report, for the month of October, we had 3 new land developments submitted, 4 new earth disturbances submitted, 1 floodplain permit, which is related to one of the earth disturbances submitted, and 1 new cell tower application submitted. As usual, the highlights are identified in red. I'll take these in groups to be brief. Items number 7, 8, and 10, projects down in the KIPC or the KTC that are nearing construction completion. Item number 9, the update is that the Wawa on Lincoln Highway is nearing the start of construction. We're in the final stages of documentation for that project. The Tavo packaging project is underway, moving smoothly. And for the last grouping, I'll try to lump some together. Levittown Car Wash is in the final stages of land development, nearing construction soon. The Grand Party Affairs rental will be before the board in December for approval of waiver of land development. The Stalwart Morrisville subdivision project, our review was issued. We're not sure what the timing is for that project yet. We expect the land development submission on the B&J Group warehouse. That was a sketch plan that was presented to the board last month. We talked tonight about the Port Strip subdivision for North Point. Minor update on North Point Building 2. That's the minor subdivision, not construction. And we are working with the applicant on the Mylars for recording. And then there's North Point Phase 2, Buildings 4, 5, and 6. Items 33, 34, and 35 are scheduled for the Planning Commission for next week, but we haven't confirmed that agenda yet. In terms of the earth disturbances, there are no real updates. The last 4 are the new ones, and they are in review with the expectation that our review and or approval will be issued within the week. And in terms of the township projects, the 2021 through 23 road program, we are working on Elderberry Drive, as this board knows, and the Pinewood Drive design plan specification are in quality control, quality review, and we will be on target to seek authorization to advertise for an early spring construction. It's my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions or comments from board members? Mr. Boraski?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, one question. I had a couple people approach me about the Wawa by the fun zone. When a little bit more of an in-depth update on that, please.
Okay, the project was approved and we issued our escrow letter. As you know, that is what is incorporated into the land development agreement, which the attorneys are working on. I believe they're done, if not almost done. We have the Mylars in our office, so we went through our technical review on the final approval and conditions of approval based on the resolution. So everything's in order, and I was told by the applicant's engineer that they were surprised by a request from DEP to do a sanitary sewer planning module. Typically, projects will get waivers from that process if they're in a developed area and the sewage flows have been allocated. So this is kind of a technical snafu that's going to take them about a month to resolve, but all ducks are in a row and the project's ready to go to construction, all but for that planning module.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Galloway, any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
All right, is there a motion to accept the engineer's report?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That takes us to the bill list. $2,649,613.91. A little over 1.4 million is payroll. $300,000 was the road program. $38,000 for rescue squads. Any comments or questions from board members? Mr. Boraski?
No.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No, thank you.
Is there any public comment needed?
No public comment.
All right, is there a motion to accept the bill list?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Galloway, can you pull the board? Motion made and seconded.
Yes, Aaron Mull,
Yes.
John Palmer,
Yes.
Jeff Brodsky,
Yes.
Jeff Dents,
Yes.
and Brian Galloway, yes.
All right, we didn't have an executive session, did we? To report on? No, that was before the last meeting. Or did we?
Well,
Yeah,
let
we
me check
did
my
last
notes.
week. We did.
I think we did. Let me, if you just give me a second. The board held an executive session last Tuesday, the 9th, to discuss personnel matters and potential litigation.
All right. That takes us to the police department report. Chief Whitney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my written report, but I'll hit the highlights. In October, we had 1,790 calls for service. That brought us to 17,022 year-to-date, 4 of which were overdoses, which brings us to 66 year-to-date. We had 120 crashes during the month of October, which brought us to 951 year-to-date. Incidents of note, on November 7th, we had a serious crash at Tyburn and New Falls Road. One of the drivers in that was ejected from the vehicle. She's still in critical condition. On October 31st, we assisted Tullytown PD with a pursuit followed by a foot chase for a robbery suspect. That suspect was apprehended. And on October 26th, we had a traffic pursuit on US Route 1 northbound with a white Mercedes. The Mercedes fled into New Jersey and the pursuit was terminated by the police department. Just to touch briefly on our mental health co-responders, again, our human services co-responders, to give you a kind of a picture of what kind of calls for service we've had historically that they would be following up on, involving mental health calls. In 2019, we had 239. In 2020, we had 245. And year-to-date, as of today, we've had 249. For domestic violence kind of calls, in 2019, we had 627. In 2020, we had 683. And in 2021, year-to-date, we've had 577. So there's somewhere around 900 or so ballpark calls for service that they'll be able to follow up on. And again, one of the hopes is that it will lower the amount of times that these individuals need to rely on the 911 system for help. Also, just as on a training note, in November, we conducted additional training in the use of less lethal weapons, and we sent 2 of our officers over the past several months for instruction to become instructors for de-escalation techniques so that we can conduct that training ongoing in-house. That's my report. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Whitney. Any questions or comments for Chief Whitney?
No, thanks.
Ms. Mullen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
No, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No thank.
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to manager comment. Mr. Takita, do you have anything tonight?
I have one quick item. The last day of leaf collection with Waste Management is Saturday, November 20th. Leaves must be bagged in 30-gallon biodegradable paper bags or placed in a 30-gallon trash container without the lid. They'll be placed curbside by 6 a.m. on collection days in the same location as the regular trash pickup.
Okay. And on that note, I've received several emails and text messages that, due to this odd weather, the leaves have not finished falling yet, and a lot of people are worried. And as in the past, Waste Management is usually able to add leaf collection dates into December if necessary. So even though this Saturday is this last scheduled one, we probably will have another 1 or 2 after this once, we reach out to Waste Management. So that takes us to board comment. Mr. Boraski?
Sure. Just want to congratulate you guys on your new term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Takita, I was wondering if we could get an update on that property at Trenton Road and Lincoln High, or Trenton Road and Tyburn. I did see they were taking some trailers out. Are they allowed to use any of that property for storage at all? Behind the Sill property?
Any of the property that's going to be used for storage would require a variance from the zoning hearing board.
We don't have nothing?
Not at this time.
Okay.
And I can give
see
you,
that they were cleaning, they took a lot out of there.
yes, there are property maintenance violations on the property that we're pursuing right now. There were applications filed for letters of intent, which are under review.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
Ditto, Mr. Boraski beat me to it. Congratulations
thank
on
you.
your reelection.
Thank you.
I do want to say an extra thank you to Chief Whitney and everyone who worked on the co-responder program. I look forward to it. And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I was quarantined last year for Thanksgiving, and my family of 4 had to eat 10 pies.
That's terrible.
So I'm really looking forward to it this year. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I have just 2 questions. One for Chief Whitney. Hill Lane, right down from where Mr. Brasky was talking about. I noticed we had a lot of calls for those two houses on Hill Lane. Since they put up that new fence, have you had any calls out there?
I think it's a combination of the fence and the fact that the property is being sold combined are helpful to us. That has been a problem for quite some time.
Yeah, I just went by there the other day and it looks great, actually. And I haven't heard anything from anybody saying we had any more issues out there. So, no, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Mr. Barassi.
And just to go back to the public comment earlier, did you have a comment on that Sunoco that was robbed multiple times in the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's referring to. He may not be using the term robbery the way that we do, but I reviewed 6 weeks of shift summaries in preparation for this meeting today. We've had no robberies there the last 6 weeks.
I haven't heard anything.
It would have been in my report.
Okay, thank you. I just forgot to ask, and
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Galloway, any public comment?
No comment tonight, just congratulations to both you and Mr. Palmer. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone that came out and voted and put your confidence in myself and Mr. Palmer again. And wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And I guess that's about it for tonight. Thanksgiving and 4th of July are my two favorite holidays because they're all about food. I don't have to buy gifts. The only problem is having to decorate my house the day after Thanksgiving. So,
St. Patty's Day?
no, I'm not Irish. All right, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moves.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Everybody's Irish on St. Patty's.